What was the Declaration of Independence? Hi guys, I hope you're excited for today's lesson because today we're going to be learning about the American Declaration of Independence. Now, as most of you should know, we live in the USA, or the United States of America. This is our flag, this is where we live, this is the country we live in. Now, there was a time when the USA didn't exist. We have not been around for as long as time. We have not been around forever. There was a time that we didn't exist. And we're going to learn about one of the most important events that led up to us existing and becoming a country. So, if you look on a map of the current world, this is the United States right here. This is where we live. This is where our country is. This orange right here. Now, if you look closer on the map, you could see this country called Great Britain. Great Britain existed before the United States. So that time period where I said the United States wasn't around, Great Britain was around. Now, Great Britain decided that they wanted a little bit more land because they see Great Britain's pretty small. They wanted a little bit more. So they decided that they were going to travel across the ocean to this land right here. And this land was not the United States of America. This was just land. This was other land. So they traveled across the ocean and set up little settlements called colonies. Now, these colonies were essentially like little towns in other land that were made as a way to make the country bigger. So the colonies, while they weren't in Britain, were still served Britain, made goods for Britain, and were technically part of Britain, even though they weren't here. Britain just expanded itself overseas to this area right here and set up what's known as, what we know as the 13 colonies. Now, the colonies lived under Great Britain for a long time. However, at one point, the colonies decided that, hey, Britain's not treating us well. We don't want to be treated poorly anymore. Now, there are a number of reasons why the colonies felt this way, which we will get into in the future. But the colonies eventually decided that Britain, we're not getting back together with you because we've been treated poorly and we want things to change. So the colonies wrote which essentially is a breakup letter, the Declaration of Independence. The reason they wrote this letter was because they felt that they were being mistreated and they wanted to let Britain know that they weren't going to live under them anymore. And they tried to created what was known as the United States of America, or the USA as we know it. So put that on the map right there. So now they are the USA. And there were many, many, many reasons why the USA decided that they wanted to break up with Britain. The first reason was that Britain only allowed the United States, or only allowed the colonies, to trade with them. Now, imagine that your parents oversee you, just like how Britain was overseeing the colonies. Your parents oversee you and say, okay, you're allowed trading cards, but you're only allowed to trade trading cards with me. That's kind of annoying. You know, I wouldn't want to only trade trading cards with my parents. What about my buddies who have better trading cards? What about everyone else who I could be trading with, all the different opportunities that I can get? My parents only have certain trading cards. What if there's ones that I want? They're not allowing me to get them. Another reason that they said was because people were being put into jail without what's known as a fair trial. Imagine a time, which has probably happened in your lifetime, where your parents said, hey, stop doing that, or hey, you broke the rules. And maybe you didn't. Maybe you can prove to your parents that, hey, I didn't actually break the rules. But your parents don't care about that. They punish you. They throw you up to your room. That's been unfair. You know, it's not. You didn't get a chance to prove that you actually didn't do that. They thought you did it, and you were punished. Which again is another reason why they wrote this breakup letter, in order to let Britain know that we're done. We're not following these rules anymore. The third reason why, and one of the most important reasons why, was because the colonies felt that they were being taxed unfairly by the British government. Now, what taxes are essentially payments you have to make to live in a country. Now, in the United States, we pay taxes. Taxes are everywhere. So taxes are not, in essence, bad, because taxes are what pay for things like the roads to get fixed, and what pay for the army, and all the things that the government is able to do are paid through our taxes. So everyone has to give a portion to help out the greater good of their country. Now, taxes become unfair when you feel that it's not something that you support, and it's not something that you have a speak of, you can change. People nowadays can protest certain taxes and can say, hey, I may not appreciate that because there's people in the government who are supporting what they're supporting and are trying to do what they want. Now, the colonists felt that Britain wasn't listening to their needs. They weren't listening to them say, hey, these taxes are a bit unfair. So they were just taking their money, like the Monopoly guy. They were just taking their money and not listening to their justification on why. Hey, I don't want the money. So they wrote this breakup letter because of these reasons. Now, these are only 3 of the reasons. There are so many other reasons why the Declaration of Independence was written. So, they wrote the Declaration of Independence, which is a long list of other reasons why. These are only a few that I could explain. I wouldn't have enough time to explain all of them. So the Declaration of Independence was saying, we are not part of you anymore. We are our own country, which is why this flag was created, because that was the first one of the United States, and why we live in the United States today. The Declaration of Independence is incredibly important, because if there was no Declaration of Independence, we might not be living in the USA today. Our ancestors, my grandparents, might not have come to the USA. I might not be living here. You guys might not be in this country. You guys might not be here. If the Declaration of Independence had never been created, there would have never been this country. There would have never been the USA. And we don't know what would have happened. So, the country that you're living in now can all be attributed to the Declaration of Independence. And this isn't the only Declaration of Independence. You guys will learn about more in the future. Other countries write a Declaration of Independence because they want to be independent, because the people that are overseeing them aren't treating them fairly either. And a lot of the times it's typically similar reasons. It's typically reasons that are kind of the same. We'll learn about that in the future.